And welcome back, everyone, to Who Would Win. Today's Who Would Win comes to us from Ghost the Reaper. Well, that's the question: who wins in a fight, the Predator or Yautja? Hunting Lobo. Now, this actually was supposed to be in the speed round, but I looked at what was listed as today's Who Would Win. Started to put the thumbnail together. Looked up who was in there. I'm like, well, no, I'm not going to do this. This doesn't make any sense. I'm not going to say what it was or anything like that. That's just we're moving past that. So I actually had forgotten this in the last speed round last month, so I figured this would be a perfect time to include it. And let's be flat out honest, Lobo would kind of stomp any Yautja in general. Lobo's someone who can regularly trade blows with Superman. Again, the interpretation of Lobo has varied over his entire history, but generally, he is someone that can trade blows with Superman. Not to mention, the man's regeneration is to the point where he just can't die in the conventional sense. You could literally get rid of everything but a single drop of his blood, and he will regenerate from that drop of blood. Moreover, if you kill him straight out and erase everything from him, no body, no nothing, his soul's been banned from heaven and hell, which means it just wanders until it can possess something like a slug at one point and regrow out of the slug. So unless you can destroy his actual soul, you cannot win. You cannot kill Lobo. Sorry, you cannot kill Lobo. You can't. So the question just comes down to is do the Yautja in any context have any sort of weapon that can incapacitate Lobo to the degree that you could consider it a win? And maybe just keep him contained. Like he's the type, recognizing that he is the type of trophy that you can only keep alive, which is an interesting way to look at it. Like Yautja culture is we just watched Predator Badlands on Sunday. Again, I loved Predator Badlands. My girlfriend and my dad both really liked it. But the culture is, you collect your trophy. You have the skull. But what about living trophy? Does that go against Yautja Codex? Yautja Code? I don't know. But the question still remains, Yautja weaponry. Let's actually look this up. Yautja weaponry. I'm going to look up every single let's try that again. I'm going to look up every single bit of Yautja weaponry I can find to see if they have anything in their arsenals that could actually take on Lobo. Because physically, while they're much stronger than a normal human, they could not compete with Lobo. Their armor really is less for defense and it's more ceremonial. It definitely has defensive properties if you hit it, but anyone smart enough would just bypass it. Not to mention, now that being said, they have their cloaking tech, which would probably allow Lobo, as intelligent as he is, doesn't have like super senses in the general sense. Not like Superman, who would probably be able to see a Yautja no problem. He might be able to be taken by surprise by a Yautja. But the question is, can they kill him? Okay, so in the wrist gauntlets, generally you have the cloak, charge emitter, which is it's a surge of ultra high electronic frequencies from the Predator's wrist gauntlet, which disable electronic devices, which could disable the space hog to some degree. Gauntlet cuffs used to bind individuals together, but honestly, I doubt that'd be strong enough to think words here. Strong enough to bind Lobo. All right. So what about medical? Then medical doesn't matter here. Trophy ceremony, nope. Utilitarian, the Predator axe, that doesn't really do anything here. Grappling doesn't really do anything. Tracking investigation, no. Power sources, energy shift, which is energy. They're Yautja. They bio helmet, bio armor, body armor, partial breastplates. I mean, they're again durable enough to probably survive a hit from Lobo. Not durable enough to really, but they don't usually cover the whole Predator. Phoenix armor. Okay, this is different. Phoenix armor is well by well-respected spear masters, and like the Vidrox, the Phoenix-like creature itself, the armor is uniquely resistant to fire, energy, and radiation. Okay, it's not really going to help him here. There's tactical supremacy armor, worn by military Yautja, such as the Hydra and Blazer. The widely feared protective suit provides its wear with substantial defenses against kinetic, fire, and acid damage. Exceptional hardness also deflects outright any projectiles not specifically designed to penetrate armor. Consequently, enemies must make a concentrated effort to defeat a predator possessing this defensive armor. All right, so a military class Yautja actually, because it can has defense against kinetic attacks, Kinetic energy just means, boom, that's where the energy is being displaced. So that means a Predator wearing tactical supremacy armor could actually last a little bit against Lobo. It wouldn't be like he'd be able to win. He still needs a weapon to put Lobo down. But if we're going with a military Predator, that's the Predator who probably has the best chance of at least surviving the encounter. All right, what about melee weapons? Blunt punch glove, okay, would do a little bit. Wrist blades, no, slashing and blasting weapons aren't going to do enough to put Lobo down. Okay, the plasma slice and the plasma glaive. The glaives are double terminated weapons that seethe with white hot plasma and burn through enemies' armor. And the plasma scythe is the same thing. Those could hurt Lobo enough that it would be painful for him to deal with. But again, just not enough that would really that would really be able to do much. Electroshock bolas, smart nano vibro discs, shuriken combi stick. Again, nothing that really does much. Projectile spear gun, net gun. The net gun was kind of cool, but Lobo would be able to get out of that. Electroshock missile battery, not really all that impressive. Direct energy weapons. I mean, you got the plasma pistol and plasma caster, obviously. Burner shoots hot plasma, resembles function like a human assault rifle. Energy fletch, blazer. Again, none of these really matter. That said, however, there are one or two grenades that might be able to do something. Explosives include plasma mines. Those could screw Lobo up a little bit. Fire bombs probably wouldn't do anything near the plasma grenade. The remote bomb, not so much. However, in Badlands, we did see that cryo grenade that was able to literally kill a being that had super regeneration. The Kalisk literally could survive decapitation and just connect its head back to its body. And enough of those were able to put the damn thing down. Those would have to be the only weapon that would have any way that I can think of that have any way of actually putting Lobo straight down. And even then, Lobo can survive in the vacuum of space, which is cold and burning all at once. But Lobo has, taken extreme heat, but that we're talking about concentrated heat, not like just ambient heat and cold. So if a Yautja were to have any shot against Lobo, and I mean any shot, he'd have to be wearing the tactical armor, and he'd have to be using weapons that would be designed to actually counteract his healing, aka things like again, I don't know what they were called, but the let's just call them shock grenades, the Sub-Zero shock grenades. And he'd have to do that. He'd have to study Lobo and understand, okay, how do I beat this guy? That is the only way a Predator would have any chance against Lobo. Again, keeping invisible means, though, that he could get a hit in, at least one free hit in. Which means if he hits him with essentially just a belt of these things, they go off, he could just and then snap them off and take the head, and there you go. There would be no thawing him out. At least from what we saw, how the way the Kalisk died. So yeah, but that being said, that's a 1 in 1,000 chance. Let's be honest. Lobo takes the giant bulk of the victories. I go Lobo. I think most people would reasonably go Lobo. But look, like I said, I did think of a way that a Predator hypothetically could beat Lobo. But the question just comes down to, is there any other way you can think of? Even using their nuke, their kamikaze device, really probably wouldn't beat Lobo. Lobo survived far worse, let's be honest. So, yeah, that'd be my thoughts. But anyway, I digress. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you for the next one.